Hi, everybody. Jim Hyde here from LinkedIn Learning. In the latest edition of the Creative Brief, my LinkedIn newsletter, I write about a topic that we're going to be hearing about more and more in 2024, generative AI video. The ability to type a prompt, for example, and get not a still image, but a video clip. Joining me to talk about this is Nick Hauraz. He's a video producer and trainer based in Canada, and he's a LinkedIn Learning instructor. And he's the brains behind a brand new course that we've published that deals with this very topic. It's called AI and Generative AI for Video Content Creation, and I'm really excited about it. Welcome, Nick.
Hey, Jim, it's great to be here.
These tools are not brand new. A few of them have been available for a while,
Yep.
and very superficially, they work kind of like the Midjourneys of the world. You know, you type a prompt and you get a clip. Now, in the early versions, the results were kind of awful, sometimes hilariously bad. I think everybody
Yeah.
has seen the surreal beer commercial where party goers are like drinking beers out of their throats or things like that. They're,
Yeah.
they're, but they've gotten a lot better and a lot more powerful. Give us a sense of kind of where the market is and who the key players are.
Definitely. So I think two Gen AI to video apps to take a look at. One is Pika Labs, and the other is Runway XL. And the funny thing about Runway, we can talk about it a bit, is there's a kind of a cool evolution with them. Originally, they had a Gen AI video source where you would basically feed it video, give it a text prompt, and it would add a style to that existing video. And then it changed from that over to being able just to prompt, and then you get your video results. I think what's amazing about both of these services now is that you can take um, either existing stills, and a lot of the amazing examples that I've seen are people who will create a still through another text to image generator, take that still, upload it, and then from that, write a prompt or not write a prompt at all, and then get an end result where they get a 3 to 4 second video with movement on it. Why I think Runway is so cool, they recently introduced a new feature. It's called Motion Brush. And what it does is it allows you to sort of paint on a region of the image. And that region that you paint on, you're defining as, I want movement here. So it's kind of like you're the director of taking a photo and then saying, hey, like, let's add a little bit of movement. And all of a sudden, usually the region that you pick has some thought into it, and the system does the rest, and it does some amazing movement. The other thing is you can combine that sort of painting with then camera moves that you define. Now they've become icons versus text prompts, and you get these really cool short results.
Really like the idea of being able to upload an existing still and basing video based on that. It seems like you're much more involved in the creation process rather than having the AI just will come up with a beach scene on your own. You're
Yeah,
saying, no, I want this beach scene and I want you to add some motion in the clouds or some waves or something like that.
yeah,
Really cool.
yeah,
The whole angle of being able to specify camera moves, I think, is a really big addition that we've seen, as you noted, in Runway.
yeah,
And because that's such an important part of cinematic, the vocabulary of filmmaking, whether you're panning or whether you're zooming, these tools kind of did that on their own. They kind of guessed, well, I'm going to just kind of guess that maybe they want to zoom here, but they
yeah.
didn't give you the control over that process. So now you do have more of that control where you can say, I want the scene to pan from left to right, or I want it to zoom in and that kind of thing. That strikes me as a big step forward.
Yeah, and it's really intuitive that the way they did it with just basically icons that you can press in order to do this type of movement. And right now, some of that movement is separate, some of the pans from the counterclockwise movement. But I think as we see moving forward, you're going to see more combinations of the things that we love in just regular video creep their way into these text to video based tools.
That's really interesting. And
Yeah,
Adobe's got to be working on something too. I mean, it's hard to imagine them sitting on the sidelines as Firefly gets better and better on the image side of things, and as Premiere
yeah,
Pro integrates all of these other kind of not Gen AI oriented features, but other kind of AI powered features. It seems like a no brainer that Adobe's got to be working on something too.
Yeah, I think that they had teased at one point with Firefly that they were going to do video. So I'm curious to see how that's going to be trickled down into the software as well. And funny thing, I've used their Gen AI Firefly directly inside of Photoshop. And most of the time, what I'm doing is extending photographs, and it's just unreal how easy it is, where you just increase the size of your canvas. You then draw a rectangle around an area. You don't even have to enter a text prompt, and it's going to see the pixels that are in your image and extend it. And the reason I mention this is I've actually used this in video workflows where I've had 740 by 486 video, and the subject just happens to be in the center of the frame. But it's like, oh, I want to put this into a 1920 by 1080 comp. Since nothing else is moving, why don't I just kind of create a virtual environment? And while it's still, it feels like it is video, and then you add a few VFX in there, and voila, there you have it.
That's fantastic. I think a lot of people forget that Photoshop can manipulate video clips too.
Yeah, yeah, and it's kind of cool. It's actually something I show inside my class. One of those workflows, kind of building extending a virtual set.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, the course is called AI and Generative AI for Video Content Creation. It is on LinkedIn Learning. So contextualize where all of this is for us right now. Who should be thinking about using this? Is it kind of more of a ideation and storyboarding tool? Is some of it ready for prime time? Kind of where in the evolution from, hunched over monkey to fully erect person, where is this stuff right now?
To me, just with my opinion, I still think it is. I use it mostly as an ideation tool. I have done some experiments. That I think the things to keep in mind is that video takes up a lot more processing power. So you're waiting longer for these uh, video files to be created. They tend to be a little bit shorter, and the quality of output from these services, they're not even quite HD in many cases. They're under HD. So you can take them, and there are some people who have done some fantastic examples where they've taken those existing files, and then they use AI, another service, to upres the video right to a larger raster format using some sort of denoise, not to mention sharpening tool, to produce a really high quality image. Um, I have seen some really interesting as well as creative examples through Pika Labs and their Discord channel. So Pika Labs, you can sign up for their beta. They have two betas. They have the beta on Discord, and then they have the beta for their website. But on Discord in particular, they have a competition, and they pick a daily theme, and they say, go create videos. People submit those themes, and you get to see how people are using those tools. I will say that some of the creations have been quite stunning. Granted, it's a social media container, but you could see that then making its way into other formats. There are also full AI film festivals already happening where people are experimenting with this medium. But it reminds me, from my own film theory background, of the days of, when the Lumiere brothers first picked up a camera. It's very experimental. There's still a lot to learn, and it's also how it's going to be placed in the world of existing video. Because I think that when the two find the bridge and the mesh, that's going to be that perfect place, versus as a standalone piece.
Yeah, and it's just feels like I mean, if you're in the business, obviously a technology or set of technologies that you need to at least be superficially familiar with, so you kind of know what's happening and what might be coming down the pike.
Yeah.
But even if you aren't, it's just a really fun, creative exercise to sign up for one of these accounts. I have a Runway account. It's not very expensive. You get a certain number of generations per month, and making clips and throwing them into a timeline and just putting something together is just a really fun, creative exercise that
Yeah.
I think anybody would enjoy. It's time to kind of gaze into the crystal ball, the hazy crystal
Yeah.
ball. As we look at this whole world of Gen AI video and motion, it feels like a few interesting puzzle pieces might be just starting to come together. One is the stuff we've talked about here, being able to
Yeah.
generate video clips from text prompts or from existing images or videos. Another, though, might be this whole other world of digital avatars, AI created avatars that companies like HeyGen will allow you to create, where you record a couple of minutes of
Yeah.
yourself talking to camera, and then it clones your voice, again using AI, and creates this digital avatar of you talking that you can then type things, and it will talk in a way that, to me, kind of reminds me of like somebody talking, but behind them is someone with a knife in their back saying, read exactly this or else. Because the motion is
Yeah.
it's very stilted. It's very kind of like this, it doesn't, you can't
Yeah.
do things like this. You can't look and say, if that dog starts barking, this whole interview is going to be ruined, because generating all that stuff in AI is really, really, really hard.
Yeah.
But it's only 2024. If
Mhm.
as all that gets better and that gets married into the Gen AI video stuff that we've been talking about, you can kind of start to see why, like, some of the actors went on strike. Well, the actors went on strike.
No, I think it is a really important conversation to have and happen, and they were extremely vocal about it. And at the end of the day, I I I love to go from the perspective that these tools are used by humans and they should involve humans throughout the process, and they should be a part of it. So when um I've seen HeyGen and I've seen some people use it and try it out, and to me the what's fascinating about the tool and where I could seeing it being used is in being involved with productions or in the post end of things where my availability, let's say if I was producing this content, I was really, really busy and we were stuck in a location where we needed to get the content out by a certain time. If that little, like a 10-20 second section could be done with something like HeyGen, what a great solution. Um, I've also, it's so funny that you mentioned this because it reminds me of a few times that I've used 11 Labs. I've gone through the process of cloning my voice, not distributing it, but I've experimented with the idea of, oh, how often in like a course do I have to do a pickup? And the pickup could be for a number of reasons. One is just that the information that I was referring to is no longer valid, right?
Right,
At the pace
right.
of which technology is changing to just me not capturing something as succinctly as I was hoping for. So, now I can type in a computer this, and it's going to spit out a pretty accurate reflection of my voice. Even more so, if I'm in a location where I don't have sound equipment, 11 Labs just recently introduced where you can record into it emotive tones. It'll pick up on your emotive tones, and then you're using another voice. It's going to replicate that. So just picture like you with low equipment, but then you have your higher quality voice online that you can then that's then constructed to give you your final product versus having to go to a Hollywood studio. So that excites me, like existing content creators using this tool as a flexible way to produce more content. It scares me the idea that it could be totally automated.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. And by the way, folks, for the record, neither of us are avatars. We are actually
Yeah.
human beings who are recording this interview.
Yeah.
It's really a fascinating space to watch. I mean, that has been the case since the Gen AI imaging tools appeared a year and a half or so now ago, um, capturing everybody's imagination and introducing a whole lot of weird copyright and intellectual property issues, and one or two lawsuits as well. I
Yeah.
imagine we're going to see all of the above more as the months ahead transpire. But I do think that the Gen AI video space is something that people should be keeping an eye on in 2024, because yeah, the
Yeah.
imaging tools, the still imaging tools are continuing to evolve. They're getting better and better. Midjourney 6, which you are going to be covering in an update. By the way, folks, Nick is also the author of a great LinkedIn learning course about Midjourney.
Yeah.
Um, those tools are getting better and better too, but this is kind of like this video business is kind of a whole new thing. And that's, I think, one of the exciting things about it, and something that people should be paying attention to.
Yes, definitely. And I'm going to do my best to try to update the course that's just coming out as well, because that technology is going to be, I'm sure, shifting quite a bit this year.
Yeah, indeed. Beautiful. Nick Hauraz, thank you so very much for joining. Thank you for the awesome course, AI and Generative AI for Video Content Creation. And we will look forward to learning more about it and learning from you about Gen AI video and following you here on LinkedIn and elsewhere.
Thanks so much, Jim.